It is great to have with us at halftime the commissioner of the GCAA, Dave Elder. Dave, how you doing?
Robert, it's just crazy right now. It's that time of year, so uh, finishing up our winter sports, our spring sports are going full bore. So we can get past. And look, you take part in a lot of them, whether you're here in Georgia or in Alabama or wherever. So if we can just get past probably this Saturday or Sunday, we can take a deep breath and move on to our spring stuff.
And for those who may not know, of course, we are recording this in advance. We're recording it on a Tuesday, just prior to the start of the quarterfinals. So if some information comes across that's like, hey, that's outdated, well, that's the reason why. Let me say first, though, thank you very much. You talk about impromptu. Roughly 10 minutes ago? We hadn't even talked to each other today, and now it's, hey, we need to get together and do a little interview for halftime. So thank you for being impromptu.
Hey, sometimes you and I both know, and athletics and radio and IT, Plan A is usually the last thing we get to. So we created a Plan A and we're going with it.
All right, let's talk basketball since we're in the
All
midst
right.
of basketball quarterfinals today. And this is being aired during semifinals and finals. It has been another great year of basketball in the GCAA. Have there been any surprises, if you will, from the standpoint of who's atop the standings or maybe who didn't fare quite as well as you thought?
Well, let's start with the women's side first. East Georgia State, you could see the past couple of years they were really getting competitive under Coach Theo Howard, and been to the finals. And Coach Frey was he and Brandon were usually up there at the top, and you could see Theo working his way up with his ladies team. And Coach Frey's moved on, and Brandon's just doing AD duties. So basically, that's Theo just slid right in there, and he went 18-0 this year in conference. The very last game last week went down to the wire with South Georgia Tech. I was looking at, oh gosh, you know how it is when it gets this time of year. I have my laptop, my iPad, my iPhone, looking at three different games, trying to keep up with everything. So I had the women's game at halftime. It was a 14-point lead. Turn around, come back in the second half. It's a 1-point ball game toward the end of the game, and then South Georgia Tech had an opportunity to win that ball game, but they didn't. It went to overtime, and then of course they just pulled away right there in overtime. But they
Mhm.
had already secured top seed there, so they're getting a an opening round bye tonight, which uneven number of teams. We do it that way, and we got three quarterfinal games, and those winners will move on Friday to go to Swainsboro and play there for the semifinals and finals.
And Theo Howard has been named the GCAA Women's Basketball Coach of the Year.
That was just released this morning, and we also put out our all region selections. Those were voted on this weekend by the coaches. I was burning the midnight oil the past couple of nights trying to tabulate all that stuff, get certificates back out to them, get those things posted on the website, social media. So it's been busy to say the least.
Now, what about on the men's side? Have you named the men's coach of the year thus yet?
Yes, men's coach of the year is Rashard Lofton of Albany Tech. They won the regular season there, so he was. Coaches can't vote for themselves, so he was outside of his vote. Everyone else voted for Rashard, so he was in it all like the president. He was a unanimous decision there.
All right, now the locations, and again, we're recording this in advance. We know that the semifinals will take place on the women's side in Swainsboro. I have said many times, I kind of question how much of an advantage it is playing at home. Swainsboro, and I love that venue, but that is a definitive home field advantage or home court, if you will, advantage. That's a different feeling place. A lot of glass, a lot of natural light comes into Swainsboro. Gorgeous place to play, but it is definitely a home court advantage.
Oh, without a doubt, and I think you can look back in the past and say the same thing for South Georgia Tech. They have. I think in that little arena there at the hangar, that place can get rocking there too. So really, yeah, Coach Howard's sitting in the driver's seat right now. Everybody else is going to be playing he and his ladies are getting a little extra rest, so they should have the fresh legs going into Thursday, Friday night.
Now, on the men's side, and again, by the time this is aired, in some instances, we already know where the semis and finals are going to be played in men's basketball. But take us through the process. It is the highest remaining seed after the quarterfinals.
Correct. Now, let's backtrack a little bit more. As of Saturday afternoon, we finished with 4 teams tied with the same record. So 2, 3, 4, and 5 spots were all the same. So we had to go to the tiebreaker process to break that down. And thank goodness for Presto, because I know in the past coaches have gone through that process in their head, called me, said, I think I got this figured out. And I remember Coach Baldwin called me one year, said, I think I got this. I said, hold on, let me pull up Presto. And I can click some buttons, all depending on how many teams I want to compare, and I can have all that information in front of me instantaneously. And so we were able to determine, at that point, Ty, we go head to head, and that's the way we broke the seeding on that and ended up Central Georgia Tech dropped to 5. If they had beat Highlands earlier in the week, they would have secured number 2. But without that, the tiebreaker pushed them down to 5. Georgia Highlands head to head had a 4-2 record. South Georgia Tech and South Georgia State were tied at 3-3. So that got split by starting at the top of the standings, how they went head to head against Albany Tech, and South Georgia State was 1-1. South Georgia Tech was 0-2. So if I lost you there, I'm sorry. Just we've got it. Go to the brackets, and it's right there for everybody. So what we've got there is with the number 9 seed does not make it into the number 9 team does not make it into the tournament. So we've got a straight 8, and we go 1, 8, 2, 7, 3, 6, 4, 5. Top 4 seeds host, and then the remaining high seed after tonight's quarterfinals will host Friday and Saturday. So Albany Tech wins, they're hosting Friday and Saturday because they're the number 1 seed. If they were to get upset tonight and Georgia Highlands wins as the number 2, they'll host. I have not seen it, knock on wood. We have not ever had the circumstance where the top 4 seeds lost in the quarterfinals. That would throw a monkey wrench in there, and that would go down to then the 5th seed would host 5, 6, 7, 8. So, but we haven't ever gotten to that point. But we have had a situation where 7 has beat 2 before. And, East Georgia, was it last year before last? We called Travis Mr. February because they got hot and went on a run there and went through the tournament like that. So we'll see after tonight. If Albany Tech holds on like they've done during the season, then they'll host Friday night.
All right, let's go beyond the world of basketball. It is a question I find myself asking every time we talk. ABAC, I think, is the latest to leave, went the NAIA route. How are things looking for the conference as a whole?
There's talk, and there has been talk for years about other schools going NAIA. When you really sit down and start peeling the layers off of that on what all's required, there's a lot for our current members to meet those requirements to move on. And me personally, I just don't know that they have that there. And it really boils down to a lot finances and 4-year degrees offered. Because if you move to NAIA, the first thing they're going to ask is how many 4-year degrees do you have? And student athletes have to declare the very first semester what they're going to major in. So, and I know some presidents in the state are trying to push some of that. Some presidents that have already moved to 4-year and finding out, as I tell people a lot of times in a lot of situations, the grass is not always greener on the other side. It's just different grass. And after you've been there a little while, you realize, this is the same that I had where I was at, and I really was probably better where I was at. So we'll see. There's nothing I can do. I'm been trying to get a meeting with presidents to really go over all that, because academia is different than athletics. And unless you've done one of them, it's hard to understand the other. I've been fortunate. I've been an assistant professor when I was an AD years ago. So I understand a lot of the other side, and budgets are budgets, whether it's in academic side or athletic side. Dollars are dollars, so I do understand both ends of that. And there's a lot of things. Plus, the college scene is really changing right now on requirements from the federal government. things at the state level, FTEs, all this stuff. Kids nowadays used to be, you never had anybody taking classes online. Now they're taking classes online. Now you're having dual enrollment students. They're not getting a lot of the revenue from those students that they would have normally got if they were on campus. So you're losing when you lose that revenue and you lose athletic fees, then a lot of our schools are hurting financially from that aspect.
Let's move on to the sports that we are currently in. And of course, there probably is more than softball and baseball that we are moving into. It's just those are the two sports that we are also involved in. What about the start of the year? We're now a month into both, or a little better than a month. Smooth sailing, relatively so, or how's it been?
I'm dealing with an issue right now that I really would rather not get into. But softball has started already. Conference schedule last week. Baseball kicks off next week with conference schedule. So tennis is going on, golf is going on. So we'll have April. April we'll have the GCAA golf tournament, and that'll be down at ABAC. And then we'll swing into May where we'll have softball and baseball at Cartersville at Georgia Highlands' new facility. So we'll have basically 2 days and a rain day if needed. We probably don't need that rain day, but as soon as I say that, we will need it because you'll be there. But the good thing is we've got AstroTurf on both fields. So you and I have seen the torrential downpours, and then we played an hour and a half later. So that's the positive right there. So we'll be the 1st of May for 2 days on softball. Then we'll move to baseball. Then we'll go back the next week to softball, where softball now has a district this year. So the Region 10 winner will be coming to our champion. So we won't know that till the 1st of May, and then we'll know where we're going then the next week. Baseball district Tennessee will be hosting that this year. Right now, Georgia Highlands men, they've moved up to number 3 in the nation this week. So they've got, and you know what? I think a lot of that I talked with Dash O'Neill. He was so consumed the past 2 years with this baseball field and complex, and that took a lot of his attention away from baseball. And he's able to focus right now on baseball. And, right now they did well against Walter State, and we know how good Walter State is. They're a perennial power in baseball, and they split with them and then beat Wabash Valley, who was ranked in the top 3. So I don't want to jinx that, but if he keeps playing like he's playing right now, he's going to do really well.
Dave Elder, always great to talk with you. I know we'll talk again soon. I'm not able to make either this weekend, but we will see one another in softball and baseball. I know.
I'll hold your absence against you. So we'll see you in softball and baseball.
I would expect no less.
Thank you, Robert.
Dave Elder, thank you very much for being our guest.
Appreciate it.